Hi, I'm Chuck Bolte with AgSource Laboratories and BAS. Uh, we are here today to show what we are doing with our farmer-led watershed group and the Antigo Flats production area here. Is we have several partners with our project here that I think we need to make sure we acknowledge. Of course, the Discovery Farms program. We have the WPVGA. They have been a big sponsor and provider of funds to help us. The Nature Conservancy has also contributed completely, and Trout Unlimited. Here in my base area, I've worked with the potato and vegetable growers, the dairy farmers, and the crop growers over that time period. And the Antigo Flats is an extremely unique region within Wisconsin. It's our Antigo silt loam is our state soil. But I also look at it as an incredible resource here. And one of my big concerns over the years is I've been watching our ground be worked hard here, and we need to look at where we're preserving that soil for the future generations. So back in 2014-15, I sat down with a bunch of the younger generation farmers in the area, and we had lunch one day and we talked about where they think they're going to be in 20-30 years. As I told them, I don't have a whole lot into it. I'm going to be done in 10-15 years, but you guys are going to be here a lot longer than I. How do we protect our future and make a future for you guys here that we can protect our farming heritage here in Antigo and what we do? As I indicated, we grow a lot of potatoes here. Antigo, Wisconsin is a seed potato production area. We grow about 10,000 acres of seed potatoes here each year in Antigo. It's an extremely high value crop, but it's also a crop that's extremely hard on the soil. So we need to really look at what we do throughout the years of the crop rotation to protect that soil resource. So after we sat down that day, we came to the conclusion as a group that we needed to look at things to do as a group of farmers and how we could move forward, that we could show what we're doing to protect our environment and going forward. We started with, there's a small UW Agricultural Research Station here in Antigo. We did some cover crop trials there. We did a couple phosphorus trials within potatoes to see what we could do to change up how much phosphorus is going on in the soil for the potato year. From there, we actually do some stream monitoring on the Springbrook stream, which is in the background here between us, where we're watching the water flow there. And then we've moved into basically what we wanted to get to is actually monitoring our edge of fields.
I'm Eric Cooley, co-director with the University of Wisconsin Discovery Farms program. Today we're installing a third site at a project that we've got going with the Antigo Flats Producer Group. It's been a wonderful partnership. All the farmers in this area have been very receptive to the information that we're collecting, and we're really excited to see what we're going to see in this year's results, what we will see in future years from all three sites.
My name is Keith Walter. I'm a third generation farmer here in Antigo, Wisconsin. We grow about 4,500 acres of crops with our rotation being potatoes, corn, soybeans, alfalfa, oats, winter wheat, and we also do some canning crops as well.
So Keith, you're obviously involved with our project here by allowing us to install this edge of field monitoring station. Why have you allowed us to install this here on your fields?
You know, when you approached me and asked us to do this, I thought it would be beneficial to us here in the Antigo area to have our own set of research, our own sample set, as opposed to studies done in other parts of the state. I think it would be good to get ahead of some of the issues that we might be facing in the future. And so the more data we have, the better we can manage any kind of runoff that would be creating some problems for communities.
Keith, have you learned anything so far in this first year and a half while you've had the edge field in?
Yeah, I was surprised with this being a relatively flat field on how much runoff we actually had coming through the site here. Our phosphorus levels in our ground are fairly high, And so I was expecting to see pretty high results in the samples that were taken, but surprisingly, they weren't quite as bad as we had originally thought they would be. This was a new seeding field last year, so I expect the numbers to actually go down this year, hopefully. So there's just some good eye-opening numbers, kind of completely opposite what you and I were talking about before we did this.
Yeah, so some of the background on this particular field, our soil test level is over 200 parts per million in this field, but our pHs are also down into the lower 5 ranges in here. One thing that we believe maybe could be going on that doesn't line up with other studies is the pH of the field is actually locking a lot of that soil phosphorus up, and maybe that is why we've seen this in the early results, that we're not getting as much phosphorus runoff as we expected. There also was less sediment in the runoff than we really expected for how much water had flowed through this edge of field. We've actually had some issues with this edge of field. This station actually has been overflowed twice here in the first year and a half. We not 100% sure what's going on, but we believe we're getting more water into the watershed than what the watershed actually is, which probably is leading to that. But we're surprised to see how low the phosphorus and the sediment loss was off this field here in our preliminary results, but certainly we'll find out more over the next 5 years as we continue on.
My name is Pat Prsalowitz. We're here in Antigo, Wisconsin. Been working for Insight FS for 16 years as agronomist, working with vegetable growers, crop farmers, and dairy producers. Here on this farm, this home farm is like 160 acres. We farm about 500 total.
So Pat, can you tell us a little bit about your operation here? How long you've been doing no-till and everything?
Well, I pretty much bought the farm from my mom about 10 years ago, but I was always working with my dad, helping with the cropping and things like that. And he was a firm believer that the ground had to be brown on top. If you thought it was worked enough, you work it one more time. And I didn't agree with that. And we started no-tilling 10, 12 years ago, and have pretty much stayed with that, and plan to continue that also.
And what changes are you seeing happening with the change to no-till with your fields here?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is water infiltration. When we get some of these big rains that we've had over the last couple of years, I don't have a lot of ponding water. Some of the neighbors think, gee, it must just run off that much faster, but it doesn't. It soaks in.
Has it affected your crop yields any at all that you've seen? Or?
I don't think it's affected our yields. I know at first I was concerned about losing some yield, but when I looked at eliminating some costs from tillage, I figured I could sacrifice some yield and still be, at the end of the day, not really giving up any dollars. And we don't have the equipment to do it ourselves, and it would have to be custom done anyway. So that's another reason we decided to move to no-till and just let somebody else do the planting and harvesting.
Hello, my name's James Spacala. I'm a 4th generation potato grower here in Antigo. We farm about 900 acres, something like that. And we currently run a 4-year rotation. 3 years of, it's a combination, alfalfa, red clover, timothy, and weeds. And 3 years of that and 1 year of potatoes. And of that hay crop, we just shred it, run it right back on the ground. So it's kind of low input farming in a way. And well, we've been doing this for, quite some time. I don't even know, 30, 40 years. And we think it's worked for us. We don't sell the hay crop. We think we capture value in subsequent potato crops due to increased yields. And I think we'll stick with it too. We're slowly slowing down, me and my wife, but we have some neighbors that are working with us farming the potato land, and they move around my farm, and I think they've come to see some of the benefits of this extended rotation. I don't know what a cover crop is, but maybe what we have is 3 years of cover crop, and then our 1 year of potatoes, our cash crop. sometimes I think, well, why are we in this? It's, well, we don't want the algal blooms, all the phosphate down in the rivers, down in the Gulf of Mexico. Want to keep our water quality good. And perhaps sometimes I think we farm our ground too intensely as a people. And we may have to back off and not be taking a crop off something every year. And this will improve the quality of our land and perhaps our environment and hopefully our runoff that impinges on the environment. So that's a brief story of what we got going on here.
Hi, I'm Bill Page, agronomist for Inside FS in Antigo. Most of my information has been acquired over the years through the potato growers and their ability to feel comfortable passing on information. That information as a group, I think, has been a real big benefit to all people, and they don't mind spending some money to try and find out what the best practices are. You know, let's have the science-based information to help show us where we need to go, what we can do different, and still maintain the environment that's going to be healthy for our families and the people in the community.
Hi, my name is Jeff Osmonder, and I'm the Vice President of Cyto Farms Incorporated. Cyto Farms is a third-generation potato farm where my brother Ryan and myself farm alongside our Uncle Art. My grandpa Frank first started growing potatoes back in 1947, and shortly after started producing certified seed potatoes, which got us to where we are at today.
You've agreed to install a edge of field monitoring station on your field. Can you tell us the reason you've allowed that?
We thought installing the edge of field monitoring system would be a good way for us to see what we're losing during runoff events and how we could use better tillage or cover crop practices to prevent that in the future.
As you indicated, you want to see what's going on. What do you feel is the importance of working with the watershed group and this whole project?
I believe it's important for other growers to see what we're doing and maybe adapt better tillage practices, maybe less tillage where possible, and maybe implement some cover crops to help prevent the loss of soil and maybe other nutrients during runoff.
Jeff, you remember sitting down back in 2015 with myself and about 10 others, and we talked about what this whole project was. Can you elaborate on what happened that day and why we've gotten to this point to where we're at?
Well, we sat down that day and kind of threw some different ideas around of how we could possibly use different practices and get ahead of the 8 ball, you know, so we're not getting different regulations forced upon us, so we can be proactive and take care of some of things on our end.
Hi, my name is Dan Cockish. I'm a 4th generation grower, 2nd generation seed grower up in the Antigo Flats area. We farm approximately 240 acres of potatoes with rotational crops of oats and clover hay and also alfalfa several years in a row. Everything we do is built for the potato year.
Dan, why do you feel this project with the edge of field monitoring stations is important for the growers here in Antigo?
Well, Chuck, I think for a long time we've all been concerned with the inputs that we put on our fields. We probably should learn more about what's coming off of our fields, how it's affecting stuff downstream from us. You know, as margins get tighter, we probably want to, you know, get by with what we have to without having it run off and you know, only use what we have to use.
So how do you feel soil health plays into what you do on your farming operation and your potato crop production?
Well, my dad always told me if you don't take care of the land won't take care of you. So our whole focus of what we do is we always try to do the best that we can do in our fields. We try to stay off them when we shouldn't be on them. We wait extra days if we have to for planting or for digging. Digging obviously is a little tougher because you're trying to get your crop out. But soil health to us, I think it's the most critical proponent of what we're doing, because if we don't have soil health, everything else is going to suffer.
I'm JD Schrader. I've been a potato farmer for a whole 6 years now. Someone in my family's been farming. I'd be about the 5th generation in the Antigo area since about 1870. So I've been learning a lot. We have about 2,300 acres of potatoes each year in a 3-year rotation. And we also grow alfalfa, oats, corn for silage and grain. And we have about 45 full-time employees, so I'm constantly learning a lot from all of them.
Your farm, have you used cover crops at all? And if so, what has been the results, or what have you seen from them?
My grandpa, he passed away a couple years ago, but he hired one of our guys named Gene when he was 15 years old, and Gene is still working. And when I came back, and I read some book called The Soil Will Save Us, and I went to the cover crop day of Wisconsin in Stevens Point, and I was like, why aren't we growing more cover crops? And he was like, well, your season is really short. It's too cold, it's too wet. So we need a cover crop around here that can grow, that be put on late, and then still stop the soil from coming up, and it has to be warm enough to let us plant in the spring because we have such a short season to begin with. So we need to come up with a way to do that, you know, and still keep the soil down as much as we can without really, I think historically they've really lowered the phosphorus fertilizer rates over the last 50 years. Maybe everybody used to be putting on 200 or 300 pounds, and now even though we're low or relatively, just potatoes can be active in a, what do you call
our
it?
legacy phosphorus levels in the soil are still maintained despite over the last 10 to 15 years that we've wrote nutrient plans and have been trying to follow UWRX. We've dropped on average half the phosphorus that was being put into the crop rotation of potatoes over that time frame. It probably averaged around 240 pounds 12 to 15 years ago that was going on for the potato year. Today that's about 120 throughout the Antigo Flats. There's growers that are down into the 80 range, but there's also growers at the 140 to 150 range yet, but average is probably around 120 today. And that is one of our struggles, is our legacy phosphorus in the soil is there, that is going to be there no matter what we do, really. It's hard to drop that down to any level that would be down into normal ranges. Cover crops is a struggle. So looking at how you put cover on the years outside potatoes is probably the more critical part of what we do here. And whether that is clover with oats seeded down or alfalfas in rotation or grasses of some type is some of the things that growers are looking at and trying to figure out how they can fit it into their rotation with potatoes to better manage their soil health.